When the sun rose over the misty valley, Ethan enjoyed the serene silence of his secluded cabin. Little did he know Karen from the HOA had decided today was the day to enforce the rules. With a shrill phone call, she summoned the local cops to his property, convinced he was trespassing. The officers, unaware of the truth, arrived cautiously, their presence casting a shadow over the valley's peace. Ethan smiled wryly behind his coffee cup. He knew something they didn't. He owned every inch of this land. The tension was palpable as Karen strutted onto his property, her arrogance radiating in every step. Ethan's calm gaze met hers, a silent challenge. She had no idea who she was dealing with. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the HOA hierarchy to its core. Karen was notorious for her control-freak tendencies, enforcing rules that nobody dared to question. Today she felt untouchable, until she saw Ethan's relaxed posture leaning against his porch. "You can't just ignore HOA regulations," she snapped. Ethan chuckled softly. "Actually, I can, and I do." The cops looked confused, caught between their paperwork and Ethan's quiet authority. Ethan began explaining the history of the valley. Decades of land acquisitions, legal titles, and hidden deeds that no HOA member had ever dared challenge. Karen's confidence wavered as the magnitude of Ethan's ownership became clear. Each word he spoke dismantled her assumptions, leaving her stunned. What she thought was her domain was, in fact, Ethan's empire. As Karen fumed, she threatened legal action, thinking the courts would support her strict enforcement. Ethan invited her inside, offering tea as he opened a large, dusty binder. Within, detailed documents, notarized deeds, and maps spanning the entire valley proved his complete ownership. The cops, sensing the shift in power, quietly stepped back. Karen's mouth opened and closed, but no words came. Ethan calmly reminded her that trespassing accusations required proof, and in this case, she was the intruder on his property. Karen's ego collided with cold, undeniable facts. The power dynamics had shifted, and the valley was no longer hers to command. Realizing her mistakes, Karen tried to regain control by involving neighbors and rallying support, hoping collective outrage would pressure Ethan. But news traveled slowly in the isolated valley. Ethan used the time to organize his property, secure boundaries, and make clear notices that the valley was privately owned. He didn't confront her directly. He let the truth speak for itself. The neighbors, long skeptical of HOA overreach, quietly observed, their curiosity growing into admiration for Ethan's intelligence and patience. Karen's reputation began to crumble as whispers spread. The cabin owner wasn't just a resident, he owned the valley entirely. One morning, Karen tried a last desperate move, entering the cabin with a group of officials. Ethan met them at the entrance, calm and assertive. With documents, historical records, and legal citations, he demonstrated her lack of authority. Karen's face turned red with humiliation as the officials nodded in agreement. Every word she had spoken earlier was now meaningless. The valley's serenity returned, but the lesson was indelible. Arrogance and assumptions could not conquer truth and preparation. Karen left silently, defeated, but still clinging to a shred of pride. Ethan's victory was quiet but profound, rooted in knowledge, patience, and dignity. With Karen finally gone, Ethan walked the valley, breathing deeply. The cabins, trees, and streams were his to protect and enjoy, free from HOA meddling. He greeted neighbors warmly, offering small gestures of reconciliation, showing that power didn't require cruelty. Stories of Karen's failed attempts spread, but Ethan remained humble, letting his actions speak louder than rumors. The valley became a sanctuary for those seeking peace, a reminder that respect and patience outweighed arrogance. Even the cops returned occasionally, now as visitors, curious about the man who owned the entire valley yet never misused his power. Years later, Ethan's name became synonymous with resilience and quiet strength. The cabin that once drew Karen's. Hostility became a symbol of smart, patient ownership. Kids played near the streams, hikers admired the views, and neighbors knew the story of the woman who underestimated him. Ethan never sought revenge. He only safeguarded what was rightfully his, teaching a subtle lesson. True authority comes from knowledge, patience, and integrity. Karen's attempts faded into legend, a cautionary tale for anyone who thought arrogance could overpower wisdom. The valley, serene and untouched, stood as his living legacy, a place where respect ruled and peace reigned supreme.